Okay, so now we're going to talk about biological damage. And you can think of biological damage being caused by large plants. You can think of biological damage being caused by moss and lichen, particularly to stone surfaces. And you can think of fungal damage more to timbers and other organic materials. So biological damage is important. And also, we probably have to think of insect damage to biological materials. So mosses, they're small, flowerless plants, but they cause a kind of greening of stone. They really require a lot of moisture, and they tend to grow on very damp surfaces and cracks and things. So we can usually see the mosses in quite characteristic places. Moss can have both positive and negative effects. I mean, it can kind of be protective and insulative. So some people will have it on roofs as a form of insulation. And of course, you can actually have moss gardens where the moss is a feature of a particular park, garden, landscape. However, on stone in general, it's negative. We retain the water, for example, and allow more degradation of the stone to occur. And this greening can be really unattractive, particularly if it's unevenly spread across a facade. So we already have clues, though, as to what could control the growth of moss, for example. If you stopped the amount of water, you lowered the water on the surface, for sure the moss would not be able to grow. Moss do not like direct sunlight, so you could expose the moss to more sunlight if you wanted to eliminate it. And if you've got moss growing on stones, then you can imagine competitive species nearby, like grasses, can tend to limit the growth of moss. So there are a number of ways of trying to control it. Lichen, a symbiosis of algae and bacteria, are really very good at growing on rocky surfaces. They use citric and oxalic acid to leach minerals from the stone, which they make use of in gaining minerals to support their growth. They grow very slowly over long periods of time. Because they're on a stone surface, they need to be protected from the sunlight, so they actually have eosinic acid within them that stops the sunlight sort of affecting their biology. So they're actually can be quite resistant to sunlight. They are very long-lived on the surface of stone. And they can be quite disfiguring. They can change the aesthetic appeal of a stone surface. They were not so common when cities were polluted. They are very, very sensitive to pollutants like sulfur dioxide. So in the past, when coal was burnt and cities had lots of sulfur dioxide in the air, lichen were less common. But they're gradually reappearing in cities now that we no longer burn coal. They can have extreme effects. The stone biology can really change the appearance of a building. So here's a beautiful Central American monument, Calakmul, on the sort of Mexican-Guatemalan border. And what you see, this lovely white towering pyramid, is now going red at the base because of the growth of lichen on the surface.